Hello, William Ramsay Roadrunners.
Hello, Patrick Henry Eagles. This is Mrs. Evans.
And this is Mr. Evans.
And we're gonna pump you up. Well, we're gonna show you how to make some cool instruments out of things you have around the house. Let's get started. So we're gonna start with some instruments we have around the house. These are various kind of non-pitched percussion instruments. So we're gonna start with some scrapers. So if you can get in close on these. This one here is a guiro. And over here we have a scraper that comes from Vietnam, and it looks like a what?
Frog.
A frog, that's right. And you can experiment around with different things you can use to play it. I think that sounds really cool. Sounds like a frog, doesn't it? Really?
Yeah, it really does.
Mm-hmm. And then over here you see something that looks more like a maraca, and you might say, oh, Mr. Evans, that doesn't really look like a scraper to me. But if you shake it, it doesn't have that great a sound. But you can see the beads are on the outside over a textured surface here. So those are some examples of scrapers. So, Mrs. Evans, what do we have around the house that we can use to make scrapers?
Well, I found a candy container and
Good.
we have an egg carton if we want a little softer sound. And then anything with a texture. So here is a can, so we can get use
Cool.
that, or we can use like a pen on it.
Could I try it?
Sure.
Cool. Okay, well, let's go on to the next thing. So the next thing is shakers. Okay, and so I've got quite a variety of different things here. This one here, you may say, Mr. Evans, this actually looks more like a scraper. And
Mr. Evans, that looks like a scraper.
and sure enough. So you can use it as a scraper, but it's hollow, and there is some kind of, I'm not sure what it is because I can't see inside, but there's something inside. Okay, so you can shake that. Here's a cool little one, looks like a tomato. And this one's called an egg shaker, not made from real egg, but here's one that's sort of cube shaped. Here's one that's more like a maraca. And finally this one right here. So what do we have that we could use to make shakers?
I thought you'd never ask. I gathered some basic materials around the house. I have some popping corn, rice, quinoa, and mini spaghetti. And this, I don't even have to put it in anything. Sounds great in the box.
Sure does.
Okay. If I want to make the instrument, I can put it in a funnel. Here's my funnel. If you don't have a funnel, you can make one out of paper, or you can use a measuring spoon. Let's see, I think I'll put some rice in here. So I'm going to take the cover off, put the funnel in, and then, oops, put this on. Nice sound. You could also use a bottle. Now you have to make sure it's completely dry inside, because wet rice will not make a good shaker.
That's for sure.
If you wanted to decorate, I'm noticing that when I'm peeling the label off, it's sticky, so I could put some pretty paper on there. Our daughter decorated this a long time ago out of a bottle.
And some tissue paper.
Yes. And let's see, this is ready-made from the restaurant. Some peanuts in a container. You can try to get the corn. Just pour the corn in here. A little loud, but it kind of works.
If you want something loud, that's what you go with.
So that's what we have for shakers.
Okay. Oh, and as you said, there's also quinoa there. So that would be a softer sound. So I guess from the softest to loudest, maybe the quinoa, and then the rice, and then the corn, probably.
Yes.
And while you're working with bottles, another cool thing you can do with bottles is to fill them different amounts of water, and you can blow into them like this, like a flute. That may take a while to get the sound, but play around with that a little bit. And by the way, this is So and Me. And then here's a really cool one. This is an olive oil bottle. It has a really nice deep sound to it. So let's move on to our next item here, and this would be drums. So here's a hand drum. You're familiar with these. We have these in the classroom. Okay. So how could we make a drum with things we have around the house?
So I've been eating my oatmeal so I could have this container. I took the bottom out so we have more resonance in it. It has a lid already on it. Voila,
cool. All right.
You could peel off the paper and decorate it, or you could wrap it with like some nice wrapping paper if you wanted to get fancy.
Cool.
That's it for drums.
Okay. So next we're going to look at some instruments that are made of wood, and to make them sound, you either strike them or hit them together. So we'll start with the claves here. And you can experiment with which way it sounds better. Okay. Then here we have castanets, the traditional kind that you may see some flamenco dancers using, or these, which are actually easier to play. Okay, and then here we have a wood block. Oh, here's another kind of, sort of a castanet-y thing. It's kind of cute. We got it at a folk festival. I don't remember which country this comes from, but it's kind of traditional. And then we have here a wood block. All right, so those are some wooden instruments that you strike. And what do we have in the house that would be similar to that, Mrs. Evans?
So I have some wooden spoons. It's a very nice sound. Or here's some salad.
Salad servers, cool.
And then these are napkin holders. So if the baby's sleeping or something, you can do something a little softer. What? Why do we have coconut shells on the table? What's that for?
Well, you can hit them together and they sound kind of cool. You can even make it sound like a horse galloping, horse's hooves.
Who goes there?
It is I, Arthur. So let's move on to the next thing. So here you see instruments where it's the metal is what vibrates to make the sound. So we got some cool things here. These are finger cymbals, but not your typical finger cymbals. These are actually designed for small children with small hands, so it's easy to play them. Isn't that lovely? And then this is kind of cool. Listen to this. And then probably most of you have seen this. This is a triangle. Time! Woo! And then right here we have a cowbell. Now, the kind of cowbells we have in the classroom, the go-go bells, sound more like the traditional musical cowbells, but this is actually an authentic cowbell from the Austrian Alps. Because you always need more cowbell. And Mrs. Evans will show us some common things you can find around the house, and they're made of metal to make sounds.
Okay, so first I have some pot covers. This is wonderful sound. And this one will sound lower because it's larger.
We got middle.
And we also have some pots that we can use. And this is the coolest thing. Because you can hear it, the sound bend.
Actually move it the way you did before.
Has a sweet spot where the sound bends even more. Yeah, cool.
It did it when we practiced it. Could I try that saucepan over there?
Sure.
Okay.
Be like, yeah. Wait.
So we hope that you are
pumped up
and ready to make some cool instruments.
See you next time.
Bye-bye.